1,000 years ago, the demon beasts were ruled by the dragon clan, and the one at the top was known as the demon god. With overwhelming ambition, he wreaked havoc, leading an army of magical beasts and ravaging the human world. His greed knew no bounds, aiming to plunge every corner of the world into endless darkness. At that time, humanity faced destruction, but luckily, humanity's potential was fully unleashed. In the wave of spiritual awakening, some exceptional individuals showed the ability to control demonic beasts, and were called beast tamers. In the present, a dragon was ravaging the city, but a beast tamer mounted on a lion appeared and attacked the dragon with an energy burst, causing the beast to crash into the residential area, prompting authorities to send emergency medical assistance. The beast crashed into the apartment of our protagonist named Xiao Xingyu, a student at Xiangnan High School. The wounded beast tore through our boy's entire apartment until it stopped right in front of him, making blood splatter onto his face, causing him terror. The beast opened its mouth and prepared to attack, and Xingyu was paralyzed with fear. But at that moment, someone chanted a spell and summoned a flame that struck the dragon, killing it instantly. Xingyu began rubbing his eyes, and once he opened them, he saw Su Ryuan, the headmaster of Qinglong Academy, who dismounted from her beast and apologized for the inconvenience. Then she handed him the academy's card saying they would take care of repairing the damage caused to his house and offer compensation. After handing over the card, she said goodbye to him, and she and her team flew away. While Xingyu was looking at the card, he remembered that in this world everyone dreamed of becoming beast tamers, and of course this was also a desire he had. But unfortunately, he couldn't afford to buy a beast, and without a beast, he couldn't take the National Beast Tamer exam. If he couldn't become a beast tamer, he wouldn't be able to protect anyone. While he was distracted, something started climbing up his clothes. It was a small and adorable white dog that began licking his face. He picked up the dog and realized that this dog was a husky who had followed the dragon here. He remembered that textbooks mentioned it was a creature similar to a dog called Galehound. This was perfect since he could take care of it, and now that he had a beast, he could become a beast tamer. But the only problem was that the National Beast Tamers exam was in 3 days, so he wasn't going to make it on time. He lifted the husky into the air and with an excited smile decided to awaken its spirit. The next day, early in the morning, Xingyu went to Qingfeng City's beast tamer store, intending to give the husky to someone who could afford to raise it. The dog was happy, but Xingyu knew that it had no future if it stayed with him. The store owner, furious, opened the door, asking what he was doing standing in front of the shop so early. Xingyu started to show off the adorable husky, asking the guy if he wanted this beast. But the owner told him to get lost since nobody in their right mind would want a Galehound, revealing that it had very inferior blood and no path for evolution. Xingyu had no choice but to leave, but at that moment, something began to shine, leaving him surprised. It was the status window of the husky. It was in the initial stage, but it had a hidden bloodline called Hell Bloodline. Furthermore, it had 4 hidden evolution paths. Xingyu started rubbing his eyes thinking that it was an illusion, but when he opened his eyes again, the status window was still there. He asked the shop owner if this husky had 4 hidden evolution paths, but the owner began to chase him away with a broom saying that Galehounds didn't have any evolution path. Xingyu realized that the man couldn't see the system panel, only he could see it. Suji, his classmate, the son of the richest man in town, appeared and with a smile mocked him by saying that he remembered Xingyu wasn't planning to take the national exam because he didn't have a beast. He approached the husky and asked if he had managed to get a beast. Xingyu turned his back on him and told him to mind his own business. Suji mentioned that Lina was right about Xingyu not planning to take the beast tamer exam at all. He couldn't help but start laughing since even if Xingyu tried, he wouldn't pass the exam. Upon hearing the name Lina, Xingyu, surprised, turned around, only for Suji to reveal to him that his ex-girlfriend Jiang Lina had been with him for a while. Lina appeared, grabbed Suji by the arm asking what he was doing there. He responded that he had just come to greet an old friend. Seeing Xingyu, Lina became nervous and asked Suji to stop joking since she hadn't been with him for long. She didn't care if a loser carrying a Galehound saw her with someone rich. Xingyu got angry, started pointing at her with his finger and asked her not to forget that he had been the one who helped her when she was down, giving her permission to spend her life with a rich jerk, but reminding her that he had been the one who broke up with her. Suji got angry, but Lina asked him not to lower himself to the level of a loser with a worthless Galehound, thinking that she should have left him long ago. Xingyu left, sticking out his tongue at them. What they didn't know is that this Gale Hound had 4 hidden evolution paths, which would change Xingyu's future. 3 days later, all the students gathered in Zilan Square as the National Advanced Beast Taming exam was about to begin. After some time, it was the turn of the candidates from Qingfeng City to enter the venue. Xingyu, who was known for not having a beast, filled himself with confidence and decided to be the first to take the exam. Everyone knew that he didn't have money to buy a beast and had only registered for the exam 3 days ago by enrolling in Qinglong Academy, which is considered one of the top 4 main academies. To take the exam, each participant had to touch the golden ball. Xingyu approached it and began sweating due to nervousness. Xingyu informed the professor that he was here to take the exam. Chen Qinian, the admissions professor of Qinglong Academy, took off his hat asking if he was Xiao Xingyu, to which he replied that he was. Chen Qinian's gaze fixed on our boy since he was the only Qingfeng student applying to their academy. Suji appeared, mocking Xingyu, asking if he didn't know his own limits, mentioning that in the last 5 years, only 8 students from Qingfeng City had dared to apply to the Qinglong Academy. With an evil smile, he revealed that none had managed to pass. He took out a sheet of paper and swore that if Xingyu managed to pass the exam and enter the academy, he would kneel down and call him dad. In response, Xingyu asked him to clear his throat and get ready to call him dad. Upon seeing his attitude, Suji got angry. Xingyu turned around and asked the teacher if he could start the test. Chen Qinian took out a sheet and made one thing very clear. The entrance exam for Qinglong Academy was tough. Xingyu had not chosen any backup option, so if he failed this exam, he would never be able to apply to another Beast Tamer's Academy. Everyone started laughing since the minimum spirit power score to pass the academy exam was 800, so there was no way a loser like him could reach that. And for this reason, everyone was applying to ordinary Beast Tamer schools. Xingyu paid no attention and told the teacher that he was ready to begin. Chen Qinian reached out towards the golden ball, explaining that the first test was about spirit power. Xingyu placed his hand on top of the ball and it began to glow, revealing that he had a spirit power of 316 points. Upon seeing this, Suji began to mock him since he couldn't even reach the minimum score of Qinglong Academy. Professor Chen Qinian sighed and called the next student, feeling somewhat disappointed since he had thought that he was a promising student. But upon seeing that the spiritual power of our boy was rising, he was shocked. The ball started to show 621 points, but then it reached 711, then 800, and then 956, leaving everyone stunned, while on the other side, Suji was furious and thought that the meter must be broken. Finally, the ball started to show 1028 points, leaving the professor and the others speechless. No one knew what kind of madness this was. The spiritual power determined how many beasts a beast tamer could contract. Every 100 points equaled 1 beast. And a score of 1028 meant that Xingyu had the potential to become a 10-star beast tamer. The professor began to observe Xingyu and remembered that there had only been a few 10-star beast masters in the last few decades in the Dragon Kingdom. Realizing that the Dragon Kingdom had found a genius, he took out Xingyu's registration form and revealed to everyone that he had a spiritual power of 1028 points. A proud smile appeared on the face of our MC, making Suji and Lena start to feel jealous. Last year, Yi Ningxuang, the genius girl, had obtained a score of 1030 points. No one expected our boy to be so strong, being only 2 points below her. Suji asked Xingyu not to celebrate victory so early since the exam had 2 parts. Lena started pointing at him with her finger, firmly believing that he was not going to pass the beast bloodline quality test. Just before the professor could prepare the next test, the technician appeared and started whispering in his ear, explaining that there had been a small error with the spiritual power meter, revealing that Xingyu's actual score was 1032 points, being 2 points higher than Yi Ningxuang's. The professor did not lose his composure and decided to keep the malfunction of the machine a secret, asking the man not to make it public. The man started touching his cap and affirmed positively. A while later, they went to do the second test, which consisted of checking the bloodline quality of the beast. All the students formed a circle around Xingyu. The teacher gave our boy the order to summon his beast. With a smile, he clenched his fist, making a mark appear on his hand. Then, he extended his hand towards the mark that was on the ground and asked his beast, Black Fang, to come out, causing its feet to start manifesting. Powerful flames appeared around the beast, and upon witnessing this, Suji, Lena, and the others were left speechless. But once the flames disappeared, Husky appeared, who was sleeping like a log. Everyone was somewhat disappointed to see that Xingyu's beast was a Gale Hound, the lowest grade beast in terms of bloodline quality. They couldn't believe that there were still people who made contracts with Gale Hounds as their beasts. The professor put his hand on top of his head as he was disappointed. Besides the spiritual power, the bloodline quality was also an important factor that limited the future development of a beast tamer, and now it was clear that Xingyu's beast had poor bloodline quality. He apologized to Xingyu, and just when he was about to say that his beast had a poor bloodline quality, one of the students asked him to wait since the beast wasn't entirely a Gale Hound. The ears of Husky started to grow and its eyes began to shine, making a red cross appear on its forehead. The once small Gale Hound now transformed into a powerful beast, leaving everyone somewhat confused since the Gale Hounds did not have an evolution path. The status window of Husky appeared above its head. Now it was called Hellwing Wolf. It was in the initial form of the first stage, and had the Hell's Epic bloodline. The professor approached Husky and using the device started to scan it, wondering if this beast was a second stage evolution. A smile appeared on the professor's face, and his gaze fixed on Xingyu, realizing that our boy was something special. It got dark, and with this, Xingyu passed the exam and entered Qinglong Academy. Without making a sound, Lina and Suji turned their backs on him and prepared to flee. They couldn't believe that he had managed to pass the exam. But as expected, our boy was not going to let this happen. He called Suji's attention, asking where he was planning to go and if he wasn't going to say goodbye to his dad. When Suji turned around, he saw the enormous Black Fang standing behind Xingyu. Suji lost his composure, started pointing at our boy with his finger and asked him not to be so arrogant, that he wasn't going to call him dad, asking what he was going to do about it. Xingyu started staring at him intently and called Black Fang. Suji realized that something bad was going to happen, and when he turned around it was already too late. With a murderous gaze, Black Fang placed its paw on Suji's back, making him kneel on the ground. Xingyu approached, asking if he could talk now. Suji clenched his teeth and with no other option, called Xingyu dad. Our boy turned his back on him and said that he didn't have a son like him, giving him the order to get lost. Lina decided to take advantage of this situation. She appeared in front of our boy, and with a kind smile explained that during these last 2.5 years, she had developed deep feelings for him, asking if there was a possibility that they could be together again. Obviously, Xingyu was not going to fall into the trap again. With a cold attitude, he turned his back on her and refused since he wasn't going back to the past. Lina fell to her knees on the ground and began to beg, admitting that she was wrong. After a few hours, Xingyu arrived in the city and took out his mobile phone to tell his sister the good news of having entered Qinglong Academy. But once he called his sister, the only thing that was heard were screams, indicating to our boy that something was wrong. At the same time, in Qingfeng City's outskirts, more precisely at the farmer's market, a horde of monsters invaded the area, destroying and creating chaos everywhere, causing everyone to start fleeing for their lives. Among the crowd, someone began asking if anyone had seen their child. Someone hugged a little girl who was crying. It was a woman with white hair who was hiding behind some rubble. She began to comfort the girl, asking her not to be afraid. She thought she was safe, but no, since a stinger full of venom appeared behind them. The woman noticed this and thought that this was not good. Once she looked back, she saw a huge scorpion right above them, drooling and ready to attack. Xingyu panicked and arrived at the farmer's market where he saw many people running for their lives. He didn't know what was happening here. In front of him there was only destruction, beasts destroying everything in their path, and humans fleeing. Not a single trace of his sister. The scorpion launched a powerful attack using its stinger, but luckily, it struck near where the girl and the woman were. This woman was Xingyu's sister. Upon hearing the sound of the attack, he started running to save his sister. Xingyu's eye started to bleed and then a system window appeared in front of him again, informing that Black Fang's Hell Howl skill was available, asking if he wanted to use it now. Without hesitating for a second, Xingyu pressed the button that said yes and gave the order to Black Fang to use the Infernal Howl. But nothing happened, and instead of attacking, Black Fang's attention shifted to the side, leaving Xingyu somewhat confused as he didn't know why the skill wasn't working. The scorpion pulled its stinger out of the ground and launched an attack towards the sister again, and upon seeing this, Xingyu panicked and started to feel afraid. And this moment reminded him that when the dragon had broken his window, the people from Qinglong Academy had chanted some kind of spell. He calmed down and decided to try it as well. Black Fang began to transform into Hellwing Wolf, and Xingyu started chanting the same spell as them. After transforming, Black Fang rushed towards the scorpion. Xingyu extended his hand and gave the order to use Hell Howl. Black Fang opened its mouth, making a ball of energy appear. After charging the attack, it launched a powerful burst towards the scorpion, destroying its body in half and saving the sister and the girl. The lifeless body of the beast fell to the ground, and Xingyu couldn't believe that he had defeated it, realizing that this was the true power of a beast tamer. He began to worry upon remembering that his sister was still near the monster. Quickly he rushed towards the area, and found his sister hugging the little girl, asking if she was okay. Upon seeing that she was not injured, Xingyu felt relieved. But the sister, astonished and confused, grabbed him by the shoulders and asked how he had done this. Xingyu grabbed his sister's hand and with a smile revealed that he was now a beast tamer and had entered the Qinglong Academy. While they were talking, Black Fang pounced on our boy and started licking his hand, and he explained to his sister that this was his contracted beast. Black Fang was very happy and Xingyu introduced it as the Hellstorm Wolf, called Black Fang. The people who were previously running for their lives from the monster turned around, asking if the monster was really dead. With a confident smile, Xingyu confirmed it, and the sister said that it must be dead. A woman appeared and thanked them for having saved her daughter. The daughter, with tears in her eyes, began to approach her mother to give her a hug, asking where she had gone. At the same time, Xingyu and the sister approached the scorpion's corpse, and at that moment, a crystal began to emerge from the corpse, and they decided to go see it. The crystal fell to the ground and a status window appeared. It was an initial stage monster core with the poison attribute, and it could increase the poison attribute by 5 points and could grant 10 XP points. Xingyu took the core and gave it to Black Fang to eat, since even if it was a poison attribute core in its initial stage, even the smallest gain could help Black Fang evolve. He turned around and announced that the monster was dead, so everyone could be at ease. The people gathered around our boy, praising him as a true hero for having saved them. Even the girl he had saved before appeared and said that she also wanted to become a beast tamer like him. Xingyu began to stroke the girl's head, saying that he believed she was going to become an amazing beast tamer. Once it got dark, Xingyu returned to his apartment where the hole in the wall was still there, and he fell asleep. At that moment, the sister appeared. She started staring at him intently and remained silent, her gaze fixed on the blue dragon mark that our boy had on his back. She left the room and made a call informing that the curse of the dragon rune was still in place, and the seal over the essence of the Dragon King remained intact. She was somewhat confused since she didn't know why Xingyu could still form a contract with a beast. The other person mentioned that this must be a matter of fate, asking her to keep a close watch on Xingyu. She understood this, and with a firm look decided to keep our boy under watch. The next day, Xingyu and his sister packed their bags and went to the train station, where many people came to say goodbye to them. Among them were the father and the mother. The father gave our boy a basket of salted duck eggs since he had always loved them since childhood, and the mother gave them some envelopes with some money. A while later, the train arrived, and with a smile Xingyu began to say goodbye to everyone, promising that he would visit them when he was on break. The sister began to show a kind smile. A while later, both got on the train and Xingyu asked her to take a seat. The train set off, and several hours later, the conductor asked the passengers to take note. There were reports of beasts along the railway ahead, so there could be some shaking in the train. This caught Xingyu and his sister's attention. Luckily, the train successfully passed through the dangerous section and was now on a bridge, about to enter a tunnel. Xingyu felt happy that they had managed to get through the dangerous section, being very close to Longyan City. The sister remembered that he was soon going to start school, so she asked him to study hard. But at that moment, the whole train started to shake, causing Xingyu to go on alert. The conductor revealed that a group of beasts known as three-eyed giant monkeys had been sighted further ahead, asking them to protect themselves and their belongings. Xingyu became enraged as he knew this was not good, and all the other passengers began to feel afraid since they were being attacked despite having passed through the dangerous section. The beasts climbed onto the roof of the train and began to hit it forcefully, slowly breaking it and increasing the panic. No one knew what to do now, nor did they know how they were going to face such powerful beasts. A giant monkey broke the roof of the train and entered inside, causing panic. Xingyu asked his sister to hide and not come out. She was somewhat confused and asked what he was going to do. Xingyu turned his back on her, and she fell to her knees on the ground, begging him not to go. The giant monkey leaped and prepared to attack our boy, but a golden fox appeared and using its tail, struck the monster in the face. Someone asked our MC if he was just going to stand there watching, leaving him speechless. The three-tailed fox belonged to the beast master named Qin Yanren, daughter of the president of the Sky Guild. She put her hand in front of him and told him to step back if he didn't want to die. She started to spin the spear, pointed it at the giant monkey and gave the order to the fox to use the thunder flash. Electricity appeared around its body, and it started running towards the monkey. Xingyu was in shock. The beast's status window appeared. It was a three-tailed thunder fox of level 3. with an epic quality bloodline. The ability Thunder Flash allowed this beast to dash to dodge attacks and strike the enemy with lightning damage. Upon seeing the three-tailed Thunder Fox and the spear, he finally realized who she was. The fox and Qin Yanren prepared to attack, and people thought they were saved. A smile appeared on Xingyu's face, but then another giant monkey broke through the roof of the train and entered the carriage. Xingyu turned around and asked everyone to evacuate the train. Several more giant monkeys entered the wagon and started destroying everything. These monsters were social creatures, but for some strange reason they were now furious. Xingyu extended his hand towards Black Fang and gave it the order to go since he wanted to assist the beast master. Qin Yanren stabbed the spear into the monster's back, ending its life, but she didn't know why there were so many beasts. And while she was distracted, two more beasts appeared and tried to attack her from behind, and our boy warned her by asking her to be careful. Black Fang transformed and Xingyu, who had no plans to stand idly by, used the ability called Inferno Bind, chaining the beasts so they couldn't escape. In the blink of an eye, he defeated the three beasts, and Qin Yanren approached him asking if he was also a beast master. She took the fox in her arms and with a smile thanked our MC for having saved her earlier. He responded that there was no need to give thanks since any beast master would have done the same in that situation. He paid a little attention and realized that something bad was happening to her beast. The status window of the beast appeared. It was depressed and lethargic, a result of post-battle trauma. The system even showed our boy the treatment. Xingyu asked her if lately her beast was getting too excited in battle but then became lethargic afterward, even showing signs of self-harm. Qin Yanren was somewhat surprised as this was true, asking how he knew this. Xingyu started touching his cheek and explained that her beast was suffering from post-battle trauma. He had read about this condition in the Beast Tamer's Guide to Ailments, where it mentioned that thunder foxes were very susceptible. Deep down, he couldn't tell her exactly that he could see the status of her beast. In return, as a form of gratitude, she gave him a pat on the back. Now she understood why her beast called Xiao hadn't been smiling lately, deciding to take it to be treated immediately. She put her hand on our MC's shoulder and decided that he was going to be her little brother from now on. While the two of them were talking, Xingyu's sister appeared and started staring at them intently. She stood between the two of them and with a forced smile mentioned that he wasn't just anyone's little brother. Then she grabbed our boy's arm and said that he was her little brother. Qin Yanren started staring at her intently and decided not to stand idly by. She grabbed Xingyu by the arm and pulled him away from his sister. The sister grabbed him by the arm again and Qin Yanren said that from now on he was also her little brother. Both started fighting each other, and they began pulling on Xingyu with such force that he felt like he was going to break in half. After a few hours, they arrived at the central plaza of the Azure Dragon Academy, where there were a lot of students gathered. One of the professors welcomed everyone to the Azure Dragon Academy, and on the stage were also Vice Principal Wang Dingsheng and Dean of Education Lin Kang. Everyone had to be patient until the principal arrived. After getting off the train, Xingyu said goodbye to Sister Qin and managed to enroll in the academy without too many problems. A powerful white lion began to roar in the sky. Everyone became happy upon recognizing the purple flame lion of Principal Su. The Principal Su, who was mounted on top of the lion, flew over them. The lion flapped its wings forcefully and landed in front of everyone. Once she got off the lion, the professor approached her and asked her to say a few words to the new students. Xingyu was in shock since she was the same woman who had fought against the Shadow Demon Dragon before. He did not expect at all that she would be the principal of the Azure Dragon Academy. Su took the mic and first congratulated all the students for having enrolled in the academy. But she made one thing very clear: it didn't matter if they were from an influential family or came from humble origins. With a serious look, she made it clear that in the academy everyone was going to follow her rules, especially rule number 8. None of the new students knew about rule number 8. The Principal Su extended her hand to one side and explained that if conflicts arose between students, no matter who was right or wrong, the dispute had to be resolved through a duel in the ring and the loser had to apologize to the winner. Xingyu got serious because although Rule 8 seemed to be strict, it was the best, since in this way influential families could not intimidate others or abuse their power, giving ordinary students the freedom to seek justice with their fists. 2 hours later, everyone went to their assigned classes, and one of the students was in shock upon learning that he was in the same class as Xingyu. It was normal for this guy to be surprised since Xingyu had a spiritual power that almost rivaled Ning Shuang's. Xingyu didn't even pay attention, and Professor Chen Qinyan gave them the order to sit down since the class was about to begin. Everyone obeyed and sat down, and the guy from before swore to follow Xingyu from now on. The teacher started writing on the board and asked for silence. Then he turned around and announced that he was their homeroom teacher, hoping that everyone would gain something valuable from their time at the academy. He asked everyone to open the Beast Companion Guide as it was time to start with the theory. You see, the strength of a Beast Companion was primarily determined by two factors, the first being the evolutionary stage. The currently known evolutionary stages, from lowest to highest, included initial form, mature form, complete form, transcendent form, and Beast King form. The second factor was the quality of the beast's bloodline, the documented bloodlines being classified from low to high quality, and the higher quality bloodlines naturally exerted a suppressive effect on the inferior ones. Additionally, the attributes of beast companions could create an attribute suppression effect. For example, the 5 common elemental attributes, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, follow a cycle of mutual suppression. Wood suppresses earth, earth suppresses water, water suppresses fire, fire suppresses metal, and metal suppresses wood. Beyond these 5 basic attributes, there are other variants such as sand, lightning, and many more. The hours passed and it became evening, and instead of paying attention in class, Xingyu was sleeping like a log. The teacher noticed this and, furious, threw the chalk at his head to wake him up. Even though he was still sleepy, Xingyu opened his eyes as best as he could, and as punishment the teacher asked him what the weakness of the sky demon lizard was. The teacher was very pissed off, and if Xingyu couldn't answer the question, then he could pack his things and get out of the class. The tension in the atmosphere grew, but Xingyu stood up and with a confident smile responded that the weakness of the beast was the poison sac under its abdomen. The answer was correct and everyone was in shock. The teacher decided to ask another question, asking where condor crocodiles normally lived. To everyone's surprise, Xingyu answered again, explaining that these beasts lived in the Frostfall Lake region of the Southern Dragon Kingdom, as well as in the cold pools under the Kunlun Glacier waterfalls. Upon seeing that the answer was correct, the teacher put his hand on his chin and decided to test him further, asking what he would do if he encountered a sky-rending tiger in the wild. Xingyu responded that he would bite his identification card and find a shady place to lie down. This answer left both the teacher and the students somewhat confused, but Xingyu furthermore explained that the reason behind this was that the sky-rending tiger was a king beast of the mutated beast form, so only a level 6 or higher beast master could have a chance against it. And if they, some beginner beast masters, encountered this beast in the wild, they would be as good as dead. And for this reason he would put his ID in his mouth to make it easier for his family to identify his body. And he would also try to find a shady place to prevent the body from decomposing too quickly. Upon hearing this response, at first the professor got angry, but then he hit the table giving it the highest score. The truth was that he was asking questions from later chapters. Xingyu took out 3 books and revealed that he had already studied the rest of the material, leaving the other students in shock who didn't know how they were going to keep up with a monstrous prodigy like him. The teacher asked the class to continue with the self-study, and as for our boy, he asked him to come with him. Xingyu left the class with the professor and apologized, promising that he would not fall asleep in class again. But the professor mentioned that it wasn't about that. He put his hand on his chin and added that Xingyu had mastered the entire semester's theoretical content in less than half a class. Xingyu complimented the professor by saying that it was all thanks to his teachings, but the professor got angry and asked him to cut the compliments. Now that our boy had completed the theoretical section, it was time for him to dive into more advanced material. He handed him a card that was the pass to the Academy's library. With this pass, he was free to come and go in the library and borrow any book for free. Xingyu took the pass and was speechless. The professor put his hand on his shoulder and gave him permission to go since he had nothing more to teach him. Xingyu went to the library, which was almost empty, and after finding a book to his liking, he sat in a corner on the floor and began to read. He was reading books that would help him make Black Fang stronger. But the calm didn't last long since Wang Yan, the son of Vice Principal Wang Dingsheng, entered the library along with his subordinates announcing that today the academy belonged to him, giving everyone the order to leave. All the students who were in the library at that moment started running towards the exit, while on the other hand, Xingyu paid no attention. Wang Yan started to approach 3 girls and asked them to stay to keep him company while he studied. The girls began to feel very scared and begged him to let them go. This upset Xingyu, who closed the book and threw it at Wang Yan's head, asking him to shut up. Wang Yan, somewhat furious and confused, asked who was the responsible. His subordinate began to point at Xingyu with his finger, revealing that he was the one disrespecting him. Xingyu stood in front of the girls, and upon seeing that Wang Yan was harassing them, he thought that he had no shame. In response, Wang Yan asked who did he think he was, acting like a hero. One of the girls, scared, advised him to leave and not get involved with this guy, since he was the son of Vice Principal Wang Dingsheng. They, mere commoners, could not afford to mess with him. Our MC finally understood why this bastard was so arrogant, and Wang Yan was proud that he had understood it. He understood that Xingyu knew what was convenient for him, so he gave a thumbs down and asked him to kneel and apologize. But obviously Xingyu wasn't going to do this. Without hesitating for a second, our boy gave him a strong kick in the balls, making the guy start to feel intense pain. The arrogant Wang Yan fell to the ground and began to writhe in pain. His subordinates approached asking if he was okay. With his body trembling, he started pointing at the ceiling with his finger, asking Xingyu if he knew who he was. He forcefully hit the ground and swore not to let him leave this library alive for having messed with someone like him. While Wang Yang was writhing in pain, he decided to take revenge by showing our boy who really ruled at the Qinglong Academy. Someone entered the library upon hearing Wang Yang's arrogant tone. It was Principal Su, who had come along with the professor. She was somewhat surprised as she did not know that the academy was under Wang Yang's control. He was confused since he couldn't believe that she had found out so quickly. Su didn't take long to understand the situation and explained that because the two of them had a conflict, they should handle it according to Article 8 of the school regulations. If the students had a conflict, regardless of who was right or not, it had to be resolved through a duel in the ring, and the losing party had to apologize to the winner. They went to the square arena and everyone was anxious for the fight to begin, and many thought that Wang Yang was going to be the winner since his beast was a legendary quality 6-clawed sky-splitting leopard. Nobody believed that our boy was going to win. He simply started to show a confident smile. The professor was also observing the combat and hoped that Xingyu would not disappoint him. Both of them stepped into the arena and the referee announced that the fight was about to begin. Wang Yang shook our boy's hand and decided to let him know what happens when someone goes against him. Xingyu started to smile and mocked him by saying that he would eagerly wait for his apology, making Wang Tang furious. The combat officially began. Wang Tang placed his hand on the ground and summoned his ice leopard. This beast was terrifying. It had sharp claws and sharp teeth. Xingyu activated his ability, causing his eyes to start bleeding. But thanks to this he could see the stats of the beast. It was in the initial stage. It had 2 talents. The first, called Profound Ice Freeze. Any attack would add a certain amount of freezing damage, reducing the enemy's movement speed and attack speed by 30%. The second talent was called Shattering Cold, which was an ice sphere that locked onto a target and exploded, creating ice blades that caused area damage. Our boy started to get a little scared as he realized that this was a dual attribute beast. But then he calmed down and decided it was time to take the stage, invoking the Black Edge. Some realized that Xingyu's beast was very dominant, and in terms of appearance, Wang Tang's beast was totally defeated. In the VIP seating room, Principal Su was watching the fight. She had never seen a beast like our boy's before, realizing that it was an evolved version of the Gale Hound. Her mind filled with confusion and many questions, as the Gale Hound had always been known as a useless beast without an evolution path, wondering how Xingyu had done it. Back in the arena, Wang Tang became enraged upon realizing that Xingyu was only trying to get attention, and thought it was time to teach him a good lesson. He gave the order to his beast to use the ice-tearing claw. The beast launched icicles. Upon seeing this, Xingyu gave Black Fang the order to use the serpentine movement. Black Fang started moving from side to side and dodged the attacks without much effort, but the leopard took advantage of this to get closer and delivered several blows. Now Black Fang was quite injured and with its body trembling. This beast had a dual attribute, wind and fire, while the leopard had the attributes of ice and fire, having an attribute advantage. Wang Tang, furious, was determined to disable Xiao Xingyu's beast, so he used the Shattering Heaven technique, and the leopard launched a burst from its mouth, freezing Black Fang's body. The poor Black Fang was trapped in the ice, unable to move. Wang Tang thought he had won and with a proud smile assured that it wouldn't be long before Black Fang froze to death. The director Su and the others were anxious to see what Xingyu was going to do now. He simply began to show a confident smile, then extended his hand and gave the order to Black Fang to use the Rift Fang. The body of Black Fang began to transform into shadow, until suddenly, it disappeared. This was the dark attribute, and the teachers were somewhat surprised to see that the Hellgale Wolf truly had a third attribute. Wang Tang started to search in all directions, without realizing that a magic circle had appeared under his body. Black Fang had transformed into a shadow, and for this reason the ice could not trap it. Black Fang appeared behind him and prepared to attack. But just then, the leopard intervened and blocked the attack, saving Wang Tang by a hair's breadth, who knew that if he had been hit, he would now be injured. Black Fang landed behind Xingwu and he decided to show their true strength, commanding it to use the Silent Claw ability. Black Fang transformed into a shadow again and started attacking the leopard, not giving it a chance to counterattack. Silent Claw was a dark attribute ability. Upon hitting the opponent, it caused a silence effect for 3 seconds. Xingyu decided it was time to end this fight with the skill Hell Howl. Black Fang began charging a ball in its mouth and launched a powerful blast towards the leopard, defeating it instantly. The referee raised Xingyu's hand and announced him as the winner, leaving everyone impressed since no one expected this result. Meanwhile, on the other side, Wang Tang fell to his knees thinking that this was impossible. Xingyu approached him, reminding him that he had lost, and then Director Su appeared, mentioning that according to the school rules, Wang Tang had to apologize. With a piercing expression, she said it was time to put an end to this farce. Wang Tang was furious, but he had no other choice, so he lowered his head before our boy and apologized. Director Su began to praise Xingyu for having performed well during the match. He was the second student who had caught her attention. Wang Tang turned his back on them and swore to make Xingyu pay for this humiliation. She began to show a proud smile. She was eagerly awaiting Xingyu's performance in the first-year classification competition that was going to take place in 3 days. Xingyu started blushing and thanked her, asking who was the first student that had caught her attention. She revealed that Yi Xuanning is a young genius with a spiritual power level above 1000. Xingyu remembered hearing about her during the entrance exams. With a smile, Su handed him a ring as a reward for having won this match since she also appreciated talent. Xingyu was left speechless since it was a spatial ring that could store anything the Beast Master needed, from food, supplements to monster beast cores. Xingyu extended his hand to take the ring and with a smile humbly accepted the reward. He took the ring and thanked her from the bottom of his heart. After a few hours, the classes ended and Xingyu left the academy, and while the leaves were blowing in the wind, he decided to hurry home since his sister must be waiting. Once our boy turned the corner, a little girl with blue hair bumped into him, leaving him somewhat confused, as he did not know where she had come from. The girl put her hand on her head and started to feel dizzy. Xingyu grabbed her by the shoulders and asked if she was okay, to which she responded affirmatively. He bent down, began to stroke her head and with a worried gaze asked her to be careful next time and suggested she get home safe and sound. The girl was paralyzed for a second, until she ran to hug our boy, explaining that she had nowhere to go, asking him to take her with him. Xingyu's mind filled with confusion since this was something he did not expect. While the sun was setting, Xingyu went to his family's bedroom and his sister mentioned that this was her first day moving to Longyan City. Xingyu took the girl he had found in front of the academy home, and upon seeing this, his sister got angry, grabbed him by the ear, and started scolding him, asking how he had dared to kidnap a child. Xingyu was even more confused than before while on the other side, the girl remained silently watching, anxious to see if our boy could convince his sister. The sister hit him, causing several bumps on his head. He got angry and asked her to wait and listen since he wanted to explain, but she got even angrier saying there was nothing to explain. A while later, Xingyu finally convinced his sister to listen and explained everything that had happened. The girl and the sister sat on the sofa. Xingyu extended his hand and mentioned that Shiming was afraid of beasts, which made her unfit to become a beast master, and she had run away from home because her family mistreated her. He began to show a finger and explained that he had brought her here to help her overcome her fear of beasts. Shiming began to hug Ryuxu, and while she was crying, she asked her to let her stay since she did not want to go back home. Ryuxu began to feel sorry and decided to let her stay. Shiming started crying even more, and Ryuxu gave her a hug, and her expression was filled with seriousness. She asked Xingyu to remember never to choose a woman from the Yi family. Our boy's mind was filled with questions, but even so, he nodded. That same afternoon, at the Azure Dragon Academy, the students gathered to take the attack test. Among them was also Xingyu. He began to remember what his sister had told him and did not know why she had mentioned the Yi family suddenly. Our boy was thinking out loud. One of his companions approached and asked what he was talking about, reminding him that Instructor Chen had said that today's lesson was about positioning on the battlefield, asking if he knew what this was. At the beginning, Xingyu was terrified, but then he turned around and nervously began to show a forced smile, explaining that Beast Masters focused on teamwork in battle, with different roles and different positioning. Among the roles there was shooter, beasts with long-distance attacks, capable of inflicting frequent damage from afar. Mage, beasts with large-scale control abilities, useful for causing massive damage in group battles. Tank, beast with strong defense and healing abilities, serving as shields for the team. Assassins, beasts with high mobility and finishing power, responsible for eliminating low health enemies. And support, beasts with enhancement abilities, boosting the team's skills. The boy was surprised and finally understood it and asked Xingyu what position would suit his storm butterfly. But the professor approached, and pointing at him with his finger, he gave Xingyu the order not to speak during class. Then, with a serious expression, he asked everyone to summon their beasts in student identification order to undergo each evaluation, as this was going to determine the positioning of each of the students on the battlefield. Xingyu summoned his beast and was assigned to the position of mage, as it excelled in large-scale water attacks. Then, it was Xingyu's turn. With a smile he stepped forward, and the teacher informed him that the first test was of attack power, asking if he was ready. Xingyu remained silent for several seconds, until he activated the mark on his hand and summoned Black Fang. And once his beast appeared, he gave it the order to use Hell Howl, and Black Fang unleashed a powerful blast toward the meter, causing a critical hit effect with triple damage. The meter started to show 6,371 points. Everyone was in shock upon seeing that Xingyu had managed to do triple damage, when most couldn't even reach 1.5. Usually, the special attack damage of the initial beasts ranged between 500 and 1500. The professor could not believe that the Hellstorm Wolf had landed a triple critical hit for more than 2,000 points. Now that the attack test had ended, Xingyu assumed that he was going to fit into the role of assassin. But the professor started staring at him intently and asked him to keep going. He wanted to see how far our boy's potential could go. In the range test, Xingyu gave the order to Black Fang again to use Hellfire, and it launched another powerful burst against a tree in the distance, burning it in an instant. Xingyu was amazed to see that our boy's attack had a range of 800 meters, advising him to better take on the role of shooter. In the defense test, several attacks were launched towards Black Fang, but a shield appeared around its body, blocking the attacks. Even the extraordinary beast of Professor Chen, Ice Armor Turtle, could not break the shield. In the test control, Black Fang used the Hellbind technique, chaining some trees. Later, the buff test arrived, and using a data analysis simulation device, the instructor mentioned that any beast within 10 meters of Hellstorm Wolf would gain a 30% increase in combat, along with a 10% boost in attack speed and movement. Xingyu asked the instructor what Xingyu's position on the battlefield was since he could fit into any role. Everyone was impressed, but the professor revealed that there was a special position that suited Xingyu, known as All-Rounder. Everyone was somewhat confused, so they asked the instructor what the All-Rounder title was. Chen began to raise a finger and explained that if a tamer's beasts excelled in all positions, then that tamer will earn the title of All-Rounder. He couldn't help but smile since it was very clear that Xingyu was the only all-rounder in their class. Upon hearing this, a smile appeared on our boy's face. Excited, the other students approached him asking how he was so amazing. Xingyu blushed, and while touching his head, said that it wasn't such a big deal. But Professor Chen called everyone's attention, asking them not to get too excited since although it was rare, all-rounders were not unheard of. The first-year data was still incomplete, but so far, Xingyu was the only all-rounder in the class. However, in the second year there were Yi Xuanning and Han Tianjun, and in the third year there were Murong Qingyang and Lai Xuancheng. He advised everyone to keep working hard. His students began to show a smile. Later, Xingyu left the academy and started walking down a street. He was happy and decided to go buy some nutrient boosters to prepare for the freshman ranking competition. But just then, a group of men appeared in front, asking where he was planning to go. Somewhat annoyed, Xingyu asked them who they were. With a smug smile, the leader asked our boy if he hadn't heard of the Black Tiger Guild, mentioning that our boy seemed to be looking for trouble. And among the group was Wang Tang, who began pointing at Xingyu with his finger and with a smile suggested to President Lei not to waste his words on him and to break one of his legs to see if he dared to keep acting cocky. President Lei and his men started approaching our boy, saying that his luck had run out. Xingyu noticed that the men had star insignias on their clothing, indicating that they were 3- and 4-star beast masters. He asked them if it wasn't too excessive to bully a 1-star beast master like him. Wang Tang, furious, responded that as a bully he could do whatever he wanted and Xingyu couldn't do anything about it. President Lei asked him to calm down since they were going to take care of Xingyu. Then, he summoned his beast Lei Hu, a white tiger. The powerful beast began to approach Xingyu, preparing to attack, but he summoned Black Fang, who bit the neck of the white tiger, saving our boy from the attack and causing the tiger's body to crash against the ground. President Lei was furious since Wang Tang had not mentioned that Xingu's beast was so strong. Black Fang and the White Tiger started fighting, and even though our beast was in a mature stage, it could face off against the Thunder Tiger of extraordinary stage as if nothing. President Lei was not going to let this happen. His men also summoned their beasts, and he decided to see who was stronger, whether his Black Tiger guild of 3 and 4 stars or a 1-star rookie. The beasts prepared to attack, but just then, Qin appeared and with a smile she decided to see who was stronger, whether the Black Tiger guild or the Celestial guild, leaving everyone in shock. At the beginning, Xingu went on alert but then couldn't help smiling upon seeing Sister Qin Yanren. The members of the Celestial guild surrounded Lei and his men, making them panic. Lei began to feel fear since the Celestial Guild was the second-ranked Beastmaster Guild in Longyan City, and not even the Hurricane Guild, which was in first place, dared to confront them. Wai, scared to death, asked her what she was doing here. She put her arm around Xingu's shoulder and mentioned that she didn't know President Lei was planning to mess with her brother. Wai was confused since he remembered that she was an only child. With a piercing gaze, she revealed that Xingu was her sworn brother, recognized by her, making one thing clear: anyone who messed with him would be going against her and the Celestial Guild, causing all of her subordinates to summon their beasts. The conceited President Lei swallowed hard, and upon seeing the beasts, he told her that all of this was a misunderstanding. Furious, he turned around, started pointing at Wang Tang with his finger, and revealed that it was him who had hired them to cause trouble for her brother. Wang Tang began to feel afraid, and with his body trembling, he started to excuse himself by saying that he had no intention of harming Xingu. Qin Yanren crossed her arms and asked Lei if he knew what to do now. He began to sweat and replied that he did. He decided to give Wang Tang a good lesson, and his men started beating him up. Wang Tang was somewhat confused since he had been the one who had hired them. Qin Yanren and Xingu went to the Celestial Guild headquarters, and she asked him how he had gotten into trouble with those people. He explained that he was just buying beast nutrient boosters when suddenly those guys showed up. Qin Yanren mentioned that he could ask her for nutrient boosters since the Celestial Guild took care of that. She raised a finger and started to smile. If our boy needed supplements, then he could tell her because she could give them to him for free. Xingu was astonished to see how generous she was. She began to present all the facilities of the building. The training facility of the Celestial Guild was equipped with top-of-the-line training equipment to improve the skills of the Beast Masters. They also had an area that was the recreation zone where the Beast Masters could relax after missions, with amenities like golf and saunas. Next, it was the conference room where they held meetings for important missions and for detailed strategy designs. They also had a medical wing, fully equipped with advanced medical technology, and a wide range of medicinal herbs. Pointing at our boy with her finger, she said that their Beast Masters doctors were highly qualified and provided the most advanced medical care for injured beasts. Xingu was somewhat astonished, grabbed Qin Yanren by the shoulders, and asked her if he could join the Celestial Guild as a Beastmaster doctor. She started to think, and just before she could respond, someone intervened. It was Liu Yu, vice president of the Celestial Guild. She said no and asked our boy who he was and how he had gotten here. Judging by his age and experience, it was a joke for him to act as the doctor of the Celestial Guild. Qin Yanren told her aunt that Xingu was her sworn brother. He was the one she had spoken about and the one who had helped her subdue the three-eyed giant monkey on the train. But just then, a man burst into the room. Nervous, he began to shout, informing Vice President Liu that they had received several severely injured beasts in the medical wing. While breathing heavily, the man asked what to do now since they were short-staffed. Liu's attention turned to the man. She asked him not to panic, advising him to get reinforcement from other branches and gave Yanren the order to apply for assistance from other guilds. But the man said there was no time since those beasts were bleeding heavily and wouldn't last much longer. Xingu placed his hand on his chest and, determined, decided to take charge of helping, explaining to Liu that time was essential. At the same time, another wounded beast mounted on a stretcher arrived at the Celestial Guild. It was a wild mastiff with green eyes that was bleeding heavily. The nurses decided to get reserve blood bags for the beast. Once the owner arrived at the medical wing along with his injured beast, began begging the doctors to save his beast. All the doctors went on alert. Some suggested stopping the hemorrhage first since the blood loss was severe, while others tried using a hemostatic clamp which had no effect. In conclusion, no one managed to stop the hemorrhage. Our boy stayed silently observing, until he took a step forward and said that conventional methods were not going to work. He began staring intently at the wounded beast, causing its status window to appear. Thanks to this, he was able to see the vital points of the beast. This was a Beast King level creature and had a wound caused by a golden needle venomous bee king, resulting in trauma similar to a puncture. The wound was large and covered with bright green mucus, which prevented it from healing. Xingyu revealed to everyone the cause of the wound and mentioned that the green glowing mucus was a unique toxin, which made the wound impossible to heal. With a confident expression, Xingyu said that he knew how to stop the beast's bleeding, but he was not sure if the owner would trust him. The owner, who was in panic, was at a point where he had no other option but to trust him, begging him to help his beast stop the bleeding. Our protagonist gave the doctors instructions to prepare the medicine. They were in shock since the ingredients he had mentioned contained variable levels of toxicity, which was going to make the wound worse. But Xingyu stood firm and ordered them to follow his recipe immediately, or they were going to miss the best moment to treat the beast, revealing that this wild green-eyed mastiff was going to die without the medicine. The doctors, who had no other choice, ran out to prepare the medicine. 5 minutes later, one of the doctors, exhausted, brought the medicine. Xingyu put on the gloves, took the bottle and very carefully opened the cap, and then using his finger began to cover the edges of the wound with the liquid. Once the medicine started to take effect, the beast began to scream in pain, leaving Xingyu and the owner in shock. But then, the wound began to heal, successfully stopping the bleeding. The owner started crying upon seeing that his beast was going to be fine. Xingyu began taking off his gloves and asked Vice President Liu what she thought about his performance. Liu extended her hand toward him and said that his performance had far exceeded her expectations, apologizing for being grotesque earlier, and formally inviting him to join the Celestial Guild as a specially designated alchemist. Xingyu shook her hand and felt honored. After a few hours, he went to his house, where his sister, while holding a report, got angry upon seeing that he had returned home late because he had been signing a contract with the Celestial Guild to become a specially designated alchemist. Xingyu couldn't help but feel afraid. The sister turned around and was somewhat disappointed to see that Xingyu had found a spiritual sister and had forgotten about his real sister. Xingyu panicked, explaining that it was not true. But then the girl who was holding a pillow appeared and asked Xingyu if a specially assigned alchemist was something to eat. Our boy explained that now he would have a salary and this weekend they were going to go to a banquet. Xingyu and the girl raised their fists and got very excited. The scene changed to Wang Tang's room, who was now lying on his bed with his leg in a cast. He was furious and swore never to leave Xingyu alone until he got revenge. Then his father, who was disappointed, appeared and called him a useless failure. Wang Tang started crying because his father was not defending him. Despite being the son of the vice president, Wang Tang had lost to a clown from a remote city in the arena, not only dishonoring himself but the entire Wang family. Wang Tang began to cry even more and begged his father to stop yelling at him, explaining that somehow Xingyu had bonded with beasts of 3 different attributes. He got angry when he remembered that Xingyu had the support of the Celestial Guild, so he was not going to have any chance to regain his honor. The father sat on the bed next to his son and said that the Celestial Guild was someone the Wang family could not afford to offend. The father began touching his glasses and, with an evil smile, explained that if Xingyu suffered an accident during Yin Nanshan's trial and died at the hands of a magical beast, it would have nothing to do with them. The next day, it was time to do Yin Nanshan's trial, and all the students went to a forest where Wang Tang's father revealed that the trial was going to be broadcast across the entire network. All participants wore a bracelet on their arm that would allow the teachers to monitor the number of beasts hunted and battle scenes in real time. The ranking was composed based on the number of kills. 10 kills were equivalent to rank C, 31 kills rank B, 51 kills, 80 kills rank A, and having more than 80 kills was considered rank S. President Su turned to Vice President Wang and asked him that before starting the trial, please announce all the all-rounders among this class of freshmen. He closed his eyes and nodded his head. Some students had heard that Yining had obtained first place in last year's trial. Wang revealed that after the positioning evaluation test, there were 3 all-rounders among the freshman class. In Class 1 were Mu Rong Yangshu, the eldest of the Mu Rong family, and Mu Rong Xinxing. In Class 3 was Xingyu, who put his hand under his chin and began to think about the Muo Rong family. There were 4 great tamer families in China: the Yi family, the Lai family, the Mu Rong family, and the Shangguan family. After a few hours, the teachers went to the academy's broadcast room. The mustached guy named Yangzu, who was the commentator, welcomed everyone. President Su asked Vice President Wang how many beasts he thought Xingyu was going to kill. With a confident smile, he replied that about 50, which would be a good achievement. Professor Chen mentioned that there was no way since with Xingyu's talent, He was going to kill at least 80 beasts. The president Su rested her head on her hand and couldn't help but start smiling. She thought that Xingyu was going to break Yining Shuang's record, eagerly waiting to see him create a miracle. All the freshmen began to enter in order. The trial officially started. In less than 2 hours, Class 2 successfully managed to kill the short-tailed bear, with 10 kills in total. From Class 5, Sun Tianhao already had more than 20 kills, and in just 1 hour, Mu Rongyang from Class 1 already had 43 kills. He was resting under a tree while his beast was killing everyone. Yang Zhu began pointing at the screen with his finger and explained with a smile that Mu Rongyang's white griffin was the only superpower beast of the trial, and its ability called space penetration could not only instantly shorten the distance to the beast but also make any attack it launched have a penetrating effect. The white griffin was fighting against the silver-fanged snake, which was a beast with a particularly strong recovery ability, but it was restricted by the ability of the white griffin, and the death was horrible. The beast began to tear off the skin of the snake, and people started shouting, asking Xiao Bai not to torture the snake. Once the snake died, Yang Shu approached the corpse to extract the beast's core. According to the ranking, Xing was first with 50 kills, Yang Shuo second with 49 kills, and Xingyu third with 48 kills. The perspective of the transmission changed to that of Xing since people wanted to see her power. She summoned her beast to fight against a lion. Her beast was a bat with bone wings, whose bloodline was of legendary quality, being the only undead beast in the trial. The opponent was a bloodthirsty lion, an initial rank 2 beast. It had an epic bloodline. Its physical attack had a quintuple critical effect. Despite the fact that the lion was very strong, today it had encountered the bone-winged bat, marking the day it would die. All the viewers of the broadcast were on her side since she was very beautiful, and also stronger than her brother Yang Shu. Yang Zhu revealed that if she managed to kill the lion, she would have a total of 51 kills. Yang Shuo opened the leaderboard and realized that in this trial his sister was going to take first place. But then he was astonished to see that someone else had surpassed his sister. A minute earlier, she had given the order to her beast to attack, which unleashed a powerful blast from its mouth. She began to smile, thinking she had another kill secured. But then, she was terrified because Xingyu gave the order to Black Fang to attack. Just before Xing's beast's attack could land, Black Fang appeared and using its claw killed the lion, stealing the kill. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.